Season 2 of Drag Race Down Under has finally finished. Some might say thankfully, some might assume I am one of those people, and they would be right. The season seemingly was not given a bigger budget in comparison to Season 1, given that most episodes, for one, did not have a guest judge, and then also none of the production flaws present in Season 1 were fixed. The only improvements we got were in the cast on one hand, and then the presentation of non-white queens on the other. The cast is really likable, and you could tell that they cared for each other even when they maybe had conflicts, unlike in Season 1, when they seemingly all hated each other. And then also Queen Kong was allowed to showcase her culture completely, and the show understood the need to allow her to do so. However, both the video and audio editing of this season are a mess. There are too many filler shots that add padding and runtime to episodes that are already too long. The audio is also often so poorly cut and mixed that it feels like you're watching, one of my earliest videos. The storytelling is non-existent most of the time, and when it's there, it's, again, very amateurishly done. The runways and the challenges also are quite forgettable. However, overall, the experience of watching the season was less painful than last year. This is the point system in place, let's get into it. If you like what I do here, you can support me by liking this video, commenting, or subscribing to the channel, or you can join my Patreon. And for this week, I want to thank my new Patreon supporter. I want to say Opal? I mean, it's a pun name, right? Thank you so much for joining and for helping me out. In the last place, we have the season's first eliminated queen, Fawfur. The edit was not at all kind to Fawfur. She was mostly shown as simply loud and obnoxious, with some queens commenting on that too, but then also Fawfur commenting on it as well. And that's what the bulk of her presentation was in that one episode, which is quite sad. I cannot remember the last time the producers just chose to mostly present the first eliminated queen as overly negative. Usually they all get those endearing qualities that will make them memorable. Since Fawfur was eliminated in the Drag on a Dime-esque challenge, we didn't even get to see the runways that she prepared for the season, so I don't have much to say about her other than, damn, they did her dirty. Obviously, I will not be showing you her track record graphs since, 0 points per episode, the graphs would just be blank. In the 9th place, we have the second eliminated queen of the season, Aubrey Have. Aubrey actually did get minimal storyline to her, but it wasn't anything new. They more or less just repeated the storyline that Art Simone got. She's the popular queen, maybe the most popular queen going into the season, and she got a shocking early elimination. I hoped they weren't going to bring her back because of the mini backlash that they got the previous season for bringing Art Simone back, but I could not trust them. So, points for the show for not randomly bringing back Aubrey. I really enjoyed Aubrey's runway look from episode 2, the episode where she went home, but that still could not save her from her performance in the Maxi Challenge. Looking at Aubrey's graph, we don't have much to say here, given that she competed in only 2 episodes. In the 8th place, we have Beverly Kills. Unless something monumental happens to me, next week I will post the Who Did Worse on Drag Race Beverly Kills versus Cheryl Holt video. The way their storylines and track records are similar is insane. Even to the point where their best performances in the Maxi Challenge came in a top 6 girl groups challenge, where they both were the best of their individual groups, but because they were in the losing groups, they couldn't have placed higher than low. Beverly clearly was cast for the sake of having that really young queen on the show, who often doesn't have all of her social filters on, and who may not be the most experienced when it comes to drag. It's a queen that will rarely win the show, and she's often there mostly for the drama. And you know what? Beverly did that archetype well. Her runways and challenge performances never really wowed me, but what I appreciate about her is the fact that she was always trying her hardest. Looking at her graph, you could see that PP score-wise, she was on a constant downfall. Her highest points came in episodes 1 and 2 when she had 3 points both times, and then she just kept going lower and lower and lower and lower until she got eliminated. In the 7th place, we have Pomara Fifth. Pomara, for me, sadly, is the most forgettable queen of the season. 2 safe placements and an elimination means that she did not get much screen time. And I, of course, have nothing against her, but, you know, there's always going to be that one queen in a season that is the least memorable. And sadly, that's Pomara for me for this season. Even her track record does not help this notion. In the 6th place, we have Minnie Cooper. Minnie is the oldest queen of the cast, and one of the oldest queens that have ever competed on Drag Race. You can imagine that I was worried that the show was going to be ageist against her, since they do love to do that. Thankfully, that never happened. Minnie didn't get any negative treatment towards her because of her age and experience, and in fact, she got the opposite of that. She was applauded for still doing drag and for reminding younger generations of queer people where the culture they may or may not subscribe to comes from. Minnie also sure did start some drama during her time on the season, so she was a pretty interesting character to watch. However, her Snatch Game, her as Ellen, criminal. So okay guys, this is who we need to retire doing for Snatch Game. Lady Gaga, Beyonce, and now Ellen. Minnie's graphs are also quite interesting. Her highest points, just like with Beverly, came in episodes 1 and 2 when she had 4 points per episode score, and then she just kept going lower and lower until she got eliminated, ending the season with a 2.5 pp score. In the 5th place, we have Molly Poppins. See, this is what you get for trying to make mullets a thing again. I think we should start talking about Molly by looking at her track record graphs. Her only time placing above the safe placement was in episode 1, when she won the Drag on a Dime-esque challenge. Now, if you ask me, she should not have won that. That win should have gone to Hannah because she had a clear concept with her look, but I understand why Molly won. In fact, Molly, I think who I will most remember for her runway looks, especially her Cirque du Soleil look and then also her Red for Filth look. However, sadly, yeah, it was quite clear that out of that top 4, she deserved to be in the top 3 the least. Because looking at her graph, as you can see, her track record kept going lower and lower. Okay, I'm not gonna do that one again. In the 4th spot, we have my favorite queen of the season, Yuri Guy. I like Yuri's demeanor of being quiet and shy, but then just like a complete beast on the runways. And then, also interestingly enough, she was also someone who was good at comedy. You don't expect that from queens like her. Yuri's elimination made me the most shocked, I think, this season, because she clearly was doing better than Molly in the competition, and if you ask me, she also did better than her in their lip sync. And then she was eliminated. Even though she was a silent killer type of a competitor, what are they doing? Her entrance look was lovely. I also loved her look for episodes 1's runway. Her insects look is just fantastic, as is her Red for Filth look. Looking at Yuri's graphs, we can see that her highest point was in episode 1 when she had 4 points, and when her PP score was also 4, but then her lowest point was 3. Her lowest point in this season is some of the queen's highest points. Yuri on All Stars or Versus the World season when? In the 3rd spot, we have Queen Kong. Queen Kong, hand in hand with Spanky, had maybe the best storyline of the season. But I feel like the Drag Race audience relates to Queen Kong more. Do they also relate to being stunningly gorgeous and maybe one of the most beautiful people we've ever seen on the show? I don't know, you tell me. It was always a joy to watch Queen Kong, and it was always a joy to listen to her. Oh my god, what a beautiful voice! However, her track record is so messy. She did everything but go home this season, and never in the season did it happen that she plays the same 2 weeks in a row. She wasn't really ever consistent. But I do have to give her props for being the only funny queen in the reading challenge. That might be one of the worst reading challenges ever. And Queen Kong did fine, so she saved it basically for everyone there. And her being there did make the season a tad bit more enjoyable. In the 2nd place, we have Hanaconda. While watching episode 1, I thought that Hannah was going to be the first eliminated queen because of how much screen time she got. I'm so glad that I was wrong, because Hannah became one of my favorites in the season. She, along with Spanky, dominated the competition, and it was such a joy to watch. She's a funny queen, a polished queen, who also has pretty good runways. Her little friendship, no pun intended, with Molly Poppins reminded me a lot of Ketamine and Anita Wiglet from season 1, but Now the roles are reversed, because the stronger competitor actually stayed until the end of the season. I also gotta give praise to Hannah for her Eliza Minnelli. That was so funny, and it was just as good as Alexis Michelle's Liza, but they were different approaches to her character, of course, but so good. And her track record, what can you say? Stellar! She won 3 episodes in a row, which I think is a record now for Drag Race. She also achieved the show's highest PP score, other than obviously Molly winning in episode 1, with a 4.3 recurring PP score after episode 6. And in the first place we have Spanky Jackson. Listen, Spanky's track record is insanely good. Starting from the bottom 2 and then never placing below the high placement until the end of the competition is iconic behavior. Spanky's entire story on the season is that she's good at everything, but her visual presentation is very underwhelming. Now, that does pose a question of what does Drag Race value more? Visually being appealing but borderline talentless, or visually not being well put together but quite talented and versatile? The thing is, it's a little hard to improve the visual presentation of oneself on Drag Race. Jinx was able to do it on season 5, but that only because she was able to see how her makeup actually read on camera. Spanky didn't necessarily get a chance to see that, except after episode 6's Maxi Challenge. But this season had 8 episodes, so, you know, is that too little too late? Well, clearly it wasn't, given that she did win the season, but hey, as Michelle said, it's very clear that Spanky has the it factor, and now she also has the crown and the season's best track record. Looking at her graph, we can see that she was on a constant rise throughout the season, earning an incredible PP score of 4 after episode 5 and keeping it until the end of the season. The biggest winner of the season, aka the queen that placed the most placements above her placement originally here, is Yuri Gai. She placed 2 spots above her original placement. The biggest loser, on the other hand, placed 3 spots below her original placement, and it's, of course, Beverly Kills. For the notes section of this video, there is not much to talk about. The first 4 episodes' placements were quite clearly shown to us, as were the placements in episodes 6 and 7. The only thing we can talk about is the 5th episode. We had a top 6 and 3 winners of the episode. Given that we had a winning team and a losing team, the losers, well, they have to place below Saved by Design here, the losing team, no matter how well they did, which is why Beverly is low here. That's the highest that she can go. I know some people may disagree with that placement and that decision of mine, but that's totally okay. Just how I did it with Canada's Drag Race Season 3's ranking, let's see who was at the top of the competition the most. In episode 1, we of course had Molly Poppins. She's there for episode 2 as well, this time joined by Mini Cooper and Hanaconda. Molly's back at the top in episode 3 because of her mini challenge win, while Hannah takes the lead that she does not lose until episode 7, when she's overtaken by Spanky Jackson. Thus, Hannah wins this one, being at the top of the competition 4 times, or in 4 episodes. Molly was there 3 times, while Mini Cooper and Spanky Jackson were there once each. I asked my supporters on Patreon to send in their thoughts on the season prior to the finale, so this is what they had to say. Max said this: "Even though I love her and she's my pick for the win, I don't think Spanky will win. Not really because of the unpolished thing, because you can get polished very quickly with the prize money and the gig money that comes with the prestige of a winner, but rather the fact that they did crown a New Zealand queen last time, and I guess they would want to have an Australian winner for the Down Under franchise too, before it gets cancelled. Even though the season did not look good, and production elements like pacing, weird cuts, the sound and camera angles could be better, I did like the queens. The spin-off looks a little unpolished, which could be an easy fix with a bigger budget, but it does have lovable elements to it. Oh my god, just like Spanky, maybe she'll win after all." Itai Hurl also sent their thoughts about the finale, saying this: "I think Spanky will win. I believe Hannah will receive the downfall of Hanaconda trademark edit. The same thing happened to Rita Bag on Canada 1. She won 3 challenges and was never in the bottom up until the last 2 episodes, where she was bottom 2 twice, ultimately making the audience notice where her weaknesses lay, making her less of a contender for the crown. Priyanka got her bottom 2s earlier in the season, so she could redeem them later on. This is similar to Spanky, who was in the bottom the first episode and was able to redeem herself later on in the season." And that's it. that's the video. What did you guys think of this season? Do you think the right person was chosen as the winner? If you have any unpopular opinions about the season, please do leave them in the comments below. Mark them with something like unpopular opinion, and thank you for watching.